Welcome back to Just Jump. We got the Celtics at House of the Dragon this week. We're going to start with the Celtics, obviously.
Oh, okay.
The Cloud9 platform that I am on, I am just surfing that thing right now. I am like Drake. I am like Kendrick on a beat. I'm just walking on that thing.
Are you smoking on that Kyrie pack?
We just finished up. The finals are wrapped up. I've been waiting on this moment for so long, dude. It's been 16 years since they've won. It's been...
Same day they won on.
They gave us, I don't even know like what timeline to go down right now because the amount of storylines that have gone down with this team in between is just like, it's unreal. A lot sports teams go through this, but this one's just been a little like, I mean, the storytelling of this series, the players who were involved, the people who left, the people who got injured, it's just like, this is what you write movies about, dude. It's insane. I do have a whole list of notes where I want to not only congratulate my boys, but defend them. And maybe you can chime in. Is there anything you'd like to start off with?
I think me starting off would be the wrong thing to do. So
okay, then we'll just go immediately. The Celtics have had an insane journey. We got the ultimate pump fake with the big three that was Gordon Hayward, Al Horford, and Kyrie Irving. I saw a video earlier, and it was like Kyrie saying, I'm going to re-sign. And I saw those three sitting there, and I was like, this is the biggest pump fake of all time. Little did they know that like Jalen and Jason were about to come in and take over.
Even I've lasted longer than that.
It's insane that two homegrown like kids at the time just took us all the way to here. And they did it much earlier than a lot of people, which is going to surprise a lot of NBA fans because they're so used to people like, oh, they win when they're 28, but Jalen and Jason have been in the league forever. Yeah, they got drafted when they were teenagers. Like, and Jason being a dad doesn't help because it makes him seem like 5 years older than he is.
Yeah, he's like 34.
He's literally 26. I do want to address some of the hate real quick, and then we'll do the good at the end.
Sure.
All of the people saying it was an easy path. The Celtics were 23-7 against the West this year. So they handled their business over there as well. They beat a team, the Mavs, that beat OKC. They beat the Clippers, and they beat the Timberwolves, who had just taken out your current champion, and everyone was saying the Timberwolves spanked them. How does that come into play, sir? I don't know. What do you have any thoughts of the whole easy path thing?
I don't really think winning a championship is ever an easy path.
It never is, and people just like scapegoating it now. They ran the table.
I don't think it's an easy path. I just think the Celtics were the best team in the NBA this year, and they just showed that they were the best team in the NBA this year. I think
all
there's a
year
gap between them and other. The only thing I don't like about this championship, same as last year's, I feel like the Nuggets and the Celtics have robbed us of them playing each other the last 2 years.
They have, yeah, but you know they didn't clutch up. It is what it is, and they've done it all year. Like from the very beginning of the season, we watched this team play better than we expected immediately. Like everyone thought that Kristaps and Drew, it was going to take a while. It didn't. It took a week.
They gelled immediately.
Drew showed up the day before training camp. And you know what? That leads into my next point. For anyone who is upset about the easy path, go ahead. Just blame Damian Lillard. It's his fault. Like, if you think about all the way back in the beginning of the season, you need to blame your own teams, and you need to blame Damian Lillard for absolutely going insane over the fact that he wanted to leave. Because let me just bring these things up real quick. I wrote them down so I wouldn't mess them up.
Oh, okay.
Damian Lillard announces he wants to be traded. Miami and Milwaukee immediately proceeded to lose to Brad Stevens in those moments. This season in your heads was over the minute Brad Stevens didn't blow his load on one player because Miami did nothing to get better. They got and the Celtics ended up getting an underappreciated Drew and a lost at sea Kristaps Porzingis. That dude was just a message in a bottle waiting for someone to find him dying in Washington, who, by the way, Dallas, you got rid of him for peanuts. Peanuts. And the other thing I was thinking a lot about, Drew Holiday was the missing piece 3 years ago for the Bucks to win. You got rid of Eric Bledsoe because he was kind of a bum defensively. You brought in this guy. He won a championship, and you blew your load for Damian Lillard, and look where that got you. You couldn't even get us. You couldn't even get to the point where both of them were healthy. Your guy who was supposed to take you to the promised land did the same thing he's been doing for 8 years.
Let him cook.
That's all I'm saying. And then also, the part where you're like, oh, everyone got injured, they got lucky. First off, they went after Luka, they went after Halliburton, and they went after Donovan Mitchell like little baby lambs in the field for slaughter. They literally went after them defensively. Halliburton on defense pulled his hamstring. Not my fault he can't keep up with Jalen and Jason. Donovan Mitchell quit on his team. Let's just be honest. He's ready to go to the Knicks. That dude decided he wasn't playing 10 minutes before tip-off. We're just gonna act like we're just gonna act like he wasn't saving himself. He was like, we can't beat this team. I don't know. Like, did you think that was weird at all when that happened?
I didn't even know he wasn't playing until I got the update right before the game. I didn't even know he was hurt.
And even if he was really hurt, he's not gonna be there next year. So let's stop acting like he was gonna go like balls to the wall for Cleveland. He wasn't. And then with Luka and Kyrie became two guys that the Celtics were like, every single time they're guarding us, we're going at them. That's not our problem. That is not our problem. Maybe you should have had PJ Washington rotating better. He's better on defense. Maybe you should have, I don't know. I think Exum's pretty good on defense. I don't care. It doesn't matter to me.
Ryan Windhorst said there was a hole in the floor.
And oh man, this story just gets even better. I wrote this down too. Kyrie just can't play in Boston.
What do you mean?
He just can't do it.
He played there for a season or two.
But even then, you could say he couldn't play in Boston.
Oh, okay.
This dude comes to a team where they basically hand him the keys. He has this whole championship pedigree. He kind of knows he does, so other teammates are rubbed the wrong way. He gets there. He gets hurt. Gordon snaps his leg. I genuinely felt bad for them at the time. But the fact that they couldn't handle that the Celtics hit on 2 draft picks when they came back the next season, Kyrie got halfway through the season, quit. He said he was going to re-sign with us. Didn't matter to him. He walked out the door.
He gave the keys back, like, did he?
He wanted to go. He wanted to go play with his best friend in Brooklyn during the All-Star break. He was still on the Celtics, and in a year where they could have been good, he was like, "I'm out of here." And then to have the 2 young guys who you abandon beat you,
And it's in Boston too.
that is just the ultimate karma.
I think the Celtics trolled the Mavericks and lost Game 4 on purpose.
I think the NBA did that.
After watching what happened in that game, it's just such a mirage of what the actual series was.
Yeah.
I think they lost on purpose. They threw it.
Well, I'm not sure if it still stands, but there might be a chance the Mavericks scored more points in the series.
Well, they were up until this game.
It's
hilarious.
It might be close. Like, it might be by a couple points now, but my point is Kyrie, and I think what should settle into Kyrie a little bit, if he had just stayed and bought into the system, we might already have 2.
Ooh.
Like, I genuinely think Kyrie's that good of a player. I think his mental capacity in Boston is not good. I think and you can't even deny it, right? He's 14-1 against the Celtics, and in Boston, he hasn't won a game in like 4 years. Let's just tell the truth here. You're a little bit. You're in a mental. I don't want to say that word. You know what I'm going for.
Mental.
You have a small mental. Is all I'll say. And I don't even dislike you anymore.
You're a mental little person.
I don't even dislike you anymore. I thought the thing that you did in Brooklyn, where you bought front row tickets, was hilarious. I was all in on that.
That's pretty good.
But it was just weird.
What are the positives?
I'm not.
You got more negatives?
I do have. I'm on to the positives now.
Okay.
I am.
I was gonna say more negatives.
One thing I will say, Luka's awesome. He's just a great player. He was clearly hurt.
Handled the media very well too.
He did. And he's got a lot of stuff to do. I think he's in the stage that Jalen and Jason just got out of. I think he's gonna have to figure out how to play team ball more. Because unfortunately, right now, he's reminded me a lot of James Harden in Houston. Like, if he doesn't do everything, they lose. And if he does everything, they don't beat good teams. Granted, he got farther than James ever did, but that's besides the point.
Yeah, I think when you looked at the 2 teams going to the finals, it was very glaring. One team was way better than the other team, but they had Luka.
Dude, the amount of people that picked the Mavs in 5, you're an idiot. Like, the ESPN genuinely was like, yeah, the Mavs are the better team. They have the 2 best offensive players ever, or the 2 best offensive backcourt ever. I don't care. Our wings are better than them. Like, end of story. It just made no sense to me how everyone looked inside that camera, and maybe it's their job, but that's for Stephen A. Some of you guys should actually be credible sometimes. Like, you hate Boston and just say you hate Boston, because, like...
I mean, that's 95% of the country.
It was insane how much... It was like 75% of ESPN picked Dallas. That's beside the point. But the positives. We'll go right... As a fan who has been just dying for this for a long time, for Horford to step down when Kristaps came, for him to go up to Joe Mazzulla and say, put me on the bench, it's just perfect storytelling. Like, he steps down so that the better player can start. and then the better player unfortunately goes through tough times, and then he has to step up, and then he ends up being a huge reason why they win anyway. I mean, it's just perfect storytelling. This 38-year-old essentially saved himself all season just to come back when it mattered. He played 16 minutes some nights just because they were blowing everyone out so bad. The Celtics had they broke the record for 50-point wins. They broke the record for the most amount of 20-point wins. Like, Horford's kind of genius. He was playing poker. He was like, I'm just going to sit here until they need me.
Good poker face.
And then they needed him pretty bad a few times. And the thought of this just being a full team win, I told you earlier, it reminds me a lot of how the Warriors won. Like, no one could really name an MVP. Like, everyone played really well. I mean, there was points in time where Peyton Pritchard earned a $30 million contract just by shooting half-court shots.
He did it again tonight.
Has anyone ever done that like that? Are we at the point now where, like, he's in that Curry range where it's like we know he's got a chance anywhere? He's done it 9 times. He did it 4 times this playoff.
Is Peyton Pritchard the next Steph Curry? Read my column.
Yeah, let's throw that on ESPN. Let's see how that goes. And then the other thing that I just really enjoyed was how Drew showed everyone that it was a bad decision to let him go.
That seems like the biggest thing of the offseason of, like, okay, losing him maybe to get Damian Lillard makes sense. But you let him go to the best team in your conference?
They made us better by getting someone who they thought it was very confusing.
Gave the Celtics championship experience going into the year to get Damian Lillard. That just seems like a weird way to get Damian Lillard.
Milwaukee's GM had a huge blunder by not making that a 3-team trade with the Clippers. They should have figured out how to put Drew on the Clippers because then he would have stayed on the Clippers. He's from LA. That's a good team. But the fact that you put him in Portland where the GM and Chauncey Billups were like, where do you want to go?
Or rebuilding.
Yeah. And obviously Drew's going to choose the East. Like, 1, he can get back at his old team, and 2, like, the East just wasn't as intense competition-wise, especially before the season.
And then they're like, Boston.
Yeah.
Where do I sign?
You can go to Boston or Miami.
I'll buy my own ticket. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, it was just, I don't know. But I'm super thankful for Drew. I mean, and I think he showed the world why defense matters because Damian Lillard did not do so. And a lot of other teams are going to be, that team in particular is going to be confusing this offseason. Like, does Milwaukee bring back Middleton? Do they, I don't know. Does
Lillard even want to stay there?
I don't know. Whole bunch of questions. He'll probably want to go to Miami, which, again, if we're going back to the negatives, you guys were an 8 seed again. I don't care that you were injured. You were an 8 seed. You won one time. You did something that no one does when you were the 8 seed. It wasn't going to happen twice. Sorry to break it to you.
On a scale of 1 to Chris Brown, how upset is Marcus Smart right now?
That breaks my heart. It really does. Like, I had the jersey out all playoff. My fiance was wearing it because I wanted the message in our household to be, don't let his sacrifice be for nothing. Because that's tough. I mean, he's got to be pissed. And the fact that he had one of his only, like, injury-plagued seasons this year, just a tough. The 2 guys we traded barely played this year. Rob Williams played, like, 10 games.
Like, who would have thought going to, like, Memphis would be a dumpster fire?
I thought they were, like, up next. Like, I thought they were going to be a team that probably we say this every year, but contended with the Clippers or contended with Denver. And
that just goes to show you it's definitely a season-by-season thing. Like, we had the Hawks run a few years ago, like the Timberwolves this year. Is it real?
I don't know.
There's so many different, like, teams that this happens to every year. It's just, you can't really always buy in until you see it consistently.
There's going to be a pretty big shakeup with a lot of those middle-of-the-pack teams this year.
Yeah, you have to get yourself to the point of the Celtics where they just start making fun of you for not winning a championship.
Dude.
Like, that's literally what you have to do.
The amount of nonsense the Celtics received for not winning when they were so young is just...
I can't wait for 2 years from now how the media turns into Anthony Edwards isn't that good. He hasn't won a championship yet.
I'll tell you, you know what? I'll go ahead and... Any Timberwolves fan who may be watching this, just ask me for the script because I know how it's going to go.
Brian Windhorst already did it. He was basically, Luka's not that good. He can't win a championship.
He's 25.
He's walking out of the loser tunnel.
He's 25 years old, and he will... I don't care... Kyrie had some moments, but he willed this team by himself. 2 years ago, he got to the Western Conference Championship by himself. And he actually gave, I think it was Phoenix, a lot of problems.
Yeah, and Phoenix was up in that series, too.
Dude, and now he's here again, and Kyrie decided not to show up for 3 games. Like, you might as well have been P.J. Washington. Like, it's just insane. But for the future with the team, I'm just really I think they learned to trust each other this year. I think Jalen and Jason, even though they like put it on for the media and they were like, yeah, we're friends, we trust each other. Like, I think there was always a little bit of doubt no matter what. Because like when you're not over that hump, you're going to have a little bit of doubt. But the fact that Jalen got paid all that money and Jason had already got paid all that money and they both improved, I think the trust is going to be completely there next year.
And it's not even just the two of them. The development of Derek White since he's been on the team is
So
just
good.
absurd. He almost feels like the most important player on the team.
And
Like he took the Marcus Smart role and elevated it to a different level of like we can get rid of this guy because we have a guy that can do everything he can do.
oh, it's
And
insane.
then you bring in Holiday, who has all the experience of winning a championship. It's now the whole team has the experience of winning a championship.
I still feel that last year our biggest mistake was keeping Marcus Smart in that position he was. I think Derek should have always been. I mean, they started him last year, but Derek should have never been the guy on the bench ever, like at the end of games. And because Marcus was there, that kind of happens sometimes.
And it's like also moving on from Brogdon. Like it's not like they made there was some risk to the moves that they made. Like you get rid of probably the biggest fan favorite on the team, Marcus Smart. Like everyone loves Marcus Smart. Even I mean, he's the guy that when you play another team, everyone hates him, but when he's on your team, you love him.
Exactly.
So getting rid of someone like that, Brogdon, he won 6 Man of the Year, didn't he?
Yeah.
You get rid of him, and then like basically having the tough conversation with Horford, like, hey, we're bringing in Porzingis, so you're gonna have to play a little bit less now.
And that's why I felt storybook. This guy voluntarily stepped down because everyone knew it was the right thing to do, but he made it easy. And then this dude basically gets his old position back.
And then, like, don't forget the fact that they had to go through one of the weirdest coaching changes of all time.
Yeah.
Like, that's another, like, part of the story that just doesn't really get talked about anymore because of how good Mazzulla is as a coach.
Yeah.
But, like, now the Celtics get just a 35-year-old gem as a head coach that just seems like he has the pulse of the team perfectly right now, and everyone kind of seems like they love him. Like, the dude's just a movie freak and a UFC freak.
He's the second youngest coach to win ever, and I'd say arguably he's first because you and I talked about it, but Bill Russell was a player coach. I don't know how much.
The NBA literally didn't have enough money to pay coaches back then.
Yeah, like I don't know how
They're
much.
like, who's the best guy on the team? All right, yeah, you're the coach, dude. Tell us what to do.
He's the youngest coach in the modern NBA, and I think Bill Russell was just up there like, hey, you go in now. You know, like I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe he was an absolute wizard.
Al Horford's older than him.
Yeah, that's crazy. That's crazy. And that's what I'm saying. The trust. I feel. I'm celebrating tonight, and I feel really good about next year. Like, because I think they got one more year until, some of these bench players are going to want more money. Sam Hauser's not going to play for nothing forever. There's going to be some dumb team that overpays him.
That's what happens every year. Any sport where a team wins a championship, you overpay to pluck them and try to just make them worse. That's just kind of how it goes.
And then even teams that don't win championships, we watch the Heat pay Duncan Robinson like $90 million. So it can happen at any time.
I've never felt more underpaid at my job than when I saw him sign a contract.
Dude, and Sam's like better defensively. He's just as good of a three-point shooter. It's like it just shows you that teams will make mistakes. But I feel really good about next year. I mean, it's crazy that this team is we're not gonna lose anyone. They're gonna pay Derek. They have enough money to pay him. They're just gonna be screwed when it comes time to pay like the bench players. So, but you never know. Maybe there'll be some old guys who are at the end of their career that want to come over.
Oh yeah, you guys are definitely gonna be I'll sign the vet minimum. I want to win.
Give me Steven Adams. Give me him. What's he do?
Can't shoot though.
What's he up to? I don't care. He can just. He didn't need to play.
He doesn't fit the Mazzulla role of.
I just want him
need
around.
8 threes out of you a game.
I just want him around. That's all. He doesn't even need to play. He can be the 12th guy off the bench.
He's got good vibes. He's a good vibes guy.
Yeah, I mean Blake Griffin. We acted like he could shoot, but he wasn't.
That sucks now too.
He said in an interview.
Kind of wish he came back in December now.
Yeah, he said in an interview he didn't want to come in and just not be part of it. And there's two things I was thinking. It's funny you just brought that up because I was thinking, one, because of the Porzingis injury, he probably would have actually played and been like a benefit to us. And two, everyone on that team loves you so much that it wouldn't have felt like you. It would have honestly just felt like you were at like your workplace and took a vacation and came back.
Like when the Celtics were down by 30 in Game 3, or down by 30 in Game 4. Blake Griffin's getting some tick.
Yeah, and honestly, like even there were moments in this series where. Like, I think Xavier Tillman played pretty well in that role, but, like, let's be honest, Blake would have played better. Like, Xavier's not bad, but Blake would have just been better, so.
When your front court is Blake Griffin and Luke Cornett, look out. Talk about athleticism.
Those are two like dad joke comedians that account on the weekends that are ready to come for you.
Lou Cornett better be on his phone right now putting NBA champion in his Instagram bio.
Averaged, what was that stat you showed me?
3.3 points per game.
Yeah.
3.3 rebounds per game.
Hell yeah.
0.6 assists a game.
He's our new Scal, where it's like, I'm going to tell my kids I started. Like, that's what we need. But yeah, we sipped on some champagne today.
You sipped on some champagne.
Me and my fiance sipped on some champagne today.
I brought the vibes, but I will not be celebrating a Celtics championship.
Yeah, this was a big day for half of Just Jump. This was a big day. It's been a long road. I mean, there's a few Twitter videos I've reposted of.
It's been a long road to have the most championships of all time.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
there's an asterisk there.
But dude, think about even like when you first moved here, I was watching Isaiah Thomas like he was our next.
That's not who we were watching. We were watching R.J. Hunter and Pat Connaughton. That's who we were watching.
That's true. Before Isaiah Thomas, there were some funny people on our team. But yeah, it's been great. And I also realized something about sports.
Oh.
And I think you will be able to relate to this now. But at least with the Jets, maybe the Yankees.
It is football season.
You'll be able to relate to this. I'm just gonna say it, and maybe you can chime in. But there is something. Celtics have been my number one team. I've always been a basketball guy. I've always been a fan. I think that fan only got more intense when I moved away from home, because there's just something about when you move away from home that sports become your way of connecting to home. So like the Celtics have kind of kept me grounded in Boston while I've been in LA forever. Like it's always something I can come watch like 2-3 times a week, and I can feel like I'm back in Massachusetts. And I started to realize that a lot the past couple years, but this run specifically, like sports are just awesome. Like it really brings you to that moment where you can just feel like you're a part of a community and enjoy something. And I've had a really shitty year so far, and like this has been the best part of my year. And even watching the playoffs has been the best part of my year. So I think any sports fan can realize that, but I would really like to talk to anyone who's moved away from home and like had that be their centerpiece to connect to home. Like I'm sure when you watch the Jets, you think of like you and Anthony watching games and stuff.
One of my favorite things every year is flying home for the home opener.
Yeah, like there's just something really special about it. And that doesn't mean that people who are still in their cities aren't enjoying it the same way. I'm just saying that there's like a different aspect about it. I'm in Lakers country. You know how hard this is sometimes? You know how much shit I get in LA? And it's like just to have this and, watch some of the fans congratulate, me and even though I didn't play any minutes.
Oh.
It'll be cool, and it'll be fun to talk about it with my friends and those who also enjoy sports, because they know what it means. Like, it's just a good time. And again, I miss Boston a lot. I don't miss the winter, but I miss my teams. So it was a lot of fun.
Joey duck boats.
Yeah, where's my duck? Oh, my duck's downstairs. I got a Celtics duck.
What you got on your hand?
I do have a duck on my hand.
Yeah,
Can you even see? Oh, you can see it kind of.
Oh, it actually looks good. Yeah.
Yeah. But that's all I really got. Sports are cool, man. Sports are really cool. I think that's why we get behind fighters so much. Like when they're from your hometown, or like what was the?
I'm like a quarter Irish, but when Connor fights, I'm 100%.
Yeah, what was the dude who?
You don't look at me and see Irish. You see Italian immediately.
Well, we were watching a fight not too long ago, and I bet against someone, and then you were like, "He's from Boston." I immediately
Aljamain Sterling and Calvin Kattar fought, and you were like, "I love Aljo tonight," and I'm like, "Kattar's from Boston." You're like, "I love Kattar tonight."
I changed it immediately because there's just something about it. There's something about it. So thank you to the Celtics for making me feel like I was at home for a little bit and giving me something for a few weeks to brag about. And letting me go on this 20-minute rant about why everyone was dumb.
Well, you did say something of note there.
What is it?
You said the reason why you don't miss Boston a little bit is because of the winter.
Mm-hmm.
Well, last night we found out winter's coming.
Dude, what a segue.
Yeah, you like that?
Yeah, that was a great segue.
We've done a few of these, huh?
The second part of this episode isn't about any more sports, even though I just went on a whole sports rant. Yeah. The second part of this episode is the second best thing you can do with a community, and that's get behind HBO Sunday night television. House of the Dragon premiered last night.
Before they even start, I'm talking to my boss on Saturday, and he's like, "Yeah, I'm not going to watch the premiere." I'm like, "What do you mean?" He goes, "I like to kind of, let a few weeks pass and then watch a bunch at a time." I get what he's trying to say. That rule is out the window for HBO.
Yeah, no, this is
HBO Sunday night, when you hear that little tss, minutes, and there's nothing better than that.
This is one of the only networks that's still giving us appointment TV. You have to show up because someone's going to talk about it. That's a champagne burp.
Yeah.
You have to show up because someone's going to talk about it on Monday morning, and I don't want to. And they're right to. You're the asshole.
Yeah, HBO is the ultimate. Like, what's it? The water cooler at work.
Yeah.
That's HBO TV.
If you show up Monday and you're like, oh, I didn't watch it, don't say anything. You're the asshole. You should have watched it Sunday night.
We played 18 in the sun yesterday.
Still watched it.
Got back. Got to make sure you watch it.
It was an interesting episode. I mean, I think we should go in and say before we even start talking, all of these that we do, spoilers. Like, we're gonna talk about what happened. And again,
so if you've made it past the 20-minute Celtics rant,
yeah, I'll have to timestamp where the
spoiler warning now.
I'll have to timestamp where this starts. But there's always going to be spoilers in this, and like I just said, it's appointment TV. You're the asshole if you're going to have to click off this video right now because it's HBO on Sunday night. That's on you.
That was my favorite running gag on Part of My Take, where Hank would be like, "No spoilers," and it'd be Big Cat and PFT talking about The Sopranos like 10 years later.
Oh, dude,
it's like, dude, come on, you don't watch The Sopranos yet? Like,
yeah, it's crazy.
Get it together, pal.
I had to put away all my rant notes for the Celtics.
We got some Starks last night.
Yeah, so I think what we're gonna do, like we did with our movies a couple weeks ago, is we're gonna write down a score for episode 1. And we're gonna reveal it at the end. I think we should just touch on the episode a little bit and see how we felt. You want to start or should I start?
I'll let you start. This is more your realm.
Yeah, and you know what? I'll have a couple questions to go off it, but the episode it felt very classic for Game of Thrones, House of Dragon start. It was kind of like drag us in a little bit, like a fishing, like you're going fishing, you know, and they put that bobber out there and then they hook you at the end. It felt a lot like that. It was nice to have some like a little bit of like a little injection of fantasy, you know? It's like there's a lot of real life stuff. It was nice to have some dragons flying around.
There's nothing better than just watching a dragon fly around.
Oh, it was nice. And I felt like, you know, it's always done well with that show. Like the dragons never seem like corny to me. Like even when she was sliding off and the CGI didn't look perfect, I was like, I still liked that. That was pretty cool.
Yeah, but, how cool would it be to slide off a dragon?
Oh, that'd be great. You got to go down the tail though.
Yeah.
Yeah. We won't go scene by scene, but I will say that it picks up where it left off as far as tension.
Well, it seems like they picked up just a few days later.
Yeah, it was
like
quick.
It didn't. There was no time, which is weird because the first season it's all about like time jumps and changing the actors and stuff. And this it kind of seems like we just picked up right where we left off. They got right into it.
Yeah, and the tension was just real. I mean, those two are really going at it. Sorry, can you talk one more time?
Hello?
Okay, you're good. The tension was real. It was very, you know, for the end of last season, little kid got munched on by a dragon. And it picks up pretty quickly with everyone being angry about that. And everyone has come to the conclusion that this can only be resolved via war. So
I feel like that's a safe assumption.
Yeah, so I think, you know, episode 7 or 8 is going to go crazy.
The episode 8 Game of Thrones, like isn't that usually what happens?
That is the pop-off episode, yeah. So, yeah, I mean, I enjoyed it. I think it was a good first episode. I think it ended ridiculously. I think that it's classic Game of Thrones for us to think that everything's good and the day's going to be saved just for it to not be saved.
Dude, imagine just like this beautiful woman's just riding you on top, having a great time. And then all of a sudden, oh, by the way, your son.
Yeah.
Like what, dude?
So I think, all right, so let me think. That's her grandson. So she basically had to disturb this moment of love between a knight and a king's mother. I don't know what that's called officially. And say, hey, your grandkid just got his head taken out the door.
Son for a son.
Classic house. That's not even the right son. How stupid are those guys that they chose the grandson? It just shows you that every single decision made in House of the Dragon has accidentally made this worse.
And then I was like reading up on it because I haven't read the books. And I guess the way this happens in the books is significantly more vile and awful. And I'm just like laughing because it's like you knew HBO just needed to involve sex somehow. Like there's no way HBO can make a show that has like the mature rating where they're like, well, how can we sprinkle a little sex in right here to make sure
Yeah.
that this is how we take care of the end of the episode?
That's what they do, man. And I said something to you last night while we were watching, but it's funny that the 3 most significant things that have happened in House of the Dragon have all been accidents. So King Viserys tells his wife that, King Viserys tells his wife that Aegon will save them and that he is the prince that was promised. Little does she know that her son Aegon is not the guy he's talking about. He is literally talking about Jon Snow in 200 years. The second thing that happens, he did not mean to kill that kid on the dragon. His dragon just stood on business and did it because he wanted to.
Well, I mean, if you're going to have a dragon, he doesn't stand on business. That's your fault.
Right. And now, third thing, they hire some goobers to go in and go son for a son. They're supposed to get Aemond, and they get the grandkid who has done nothing. That poor kid was just sleeping.
Well,
now he's permanently sleeping.
Yeah, now he's I mean, nothing changed. He's still sleeping.
I would argue that so far, every single decision made in House of the Dragon has been idiotic.
Oh.
They're dumb.
Maybe a little emotional decisions.
There's a lot of dumb people in this show. Like they said,
well, some would say that, like, the school system's not too well back then. Like, that's
poor school system.
Yeah, yeah.
Imagine, I mean, Damon's probably not going to care.
Well, I don't think Damon's popping by the local library with his library card to, get some knowledge.
Dude, it just shows you that in this mythology, they don't care about anything. Because, by the way, the people who are at odds are brother and sister. The king is the brother of the sister who's mad.
We didn't really get a lot of Rhaenyra in this.
No, it seemed intentional, though.
Yeah.
It seemed like she wanted to come out and just be like, I want his head, and then she was supposed to go bye-bye. But that's all I really got. I mean, do you have anything to add on to any of that? Or?
I thought they gave us a nice. I do like how there was another time jump. I do like how we just kind of got right back into the swing of things, because I feel like there's so much that is about to pop off. Mm-hmm. And this was a good intro of, like, in the moment, I was kind of like, all right, like, where's the House of the Dragon? Like, when's this coming? When's this coming? Because it seemed like they were just kind of like feeding us with a lot of information for the rest of the season. And then at the end, I'm like, oh, okay, there it is.
I think you just made a really good point. I'm not a huge fan of time jumps in TV shows or movies, because I think 9 times out of 10 they're done poorly. We talked about Place Beyond the Pines last night and how they did that really well, but it's hard to do it well. And I think House of the Dragon got away with it, and they should just stay away from it now, because it's hard to follow something when you keep jumping back and forth. But yeah, I want to rate it.
Yeah, I could do a little rating.
All right, get your phone. So as always, we don't want to be biased, so we are going to give it a rating from 1 to 10 individually. And yeah, okay. I have my written. You want to go first? I went first last time.
All right.
What do you got?
8.3.
Oh, 8.3 is good.
Yeah.
Okay. I switched, so I went back and forth. I had 8.2.
Okay.
I went to 7.8.
Oh.
I went to 7.8 because I think it.
I was hovering around this, like, high 7s.
Yeah.
And even while we were watching it last night, I was like, dude, what is going on? Like, I was kind of like, okay. The ending gave me a jump.
Yeah, so it took a while to get going. That was my only thing. It did play the political game, which was fine. It gave us good things to talk about. But I gave it 7.8. And actually makes sense why you went over 8. I gave it 7.8 just because I've been in this world for so long. Like, the game, I know what Game of Thrones has to offer at this point, and I know that there's going to be a few episodes this season that are 9+.
Oh yeah.
So I'm gonna start at 7.8, and we'll see what happens from there.
Yeah, so I thought they did well, like giving us a little Stark in the beginning. I was like, okay, that was cool. Like,
yeah,
like
that dude was pretty, like, it was. I read something on Twitter today that that kid's been a savage his whole life. Like the Stark guy who was at the wall. Apparently, he became king at 13, and then, like, imprisoned his uncle because his uncle wasn't letting him be, like, the king he wanted to be.
That's what you should do as the king.
Yeah, that guy, for lack of a better term, actually, this is the best term. He must stand on business.
Yeah. And then I was a fan of the way they did, like, Rhaenyra being like, "Are we sure he's dead?"
Yeah.
Her son, and they were like, "Well, there you go."
Yeah.
The dragons always was great, and then obviously, like, I love the ending. I thought that was just done maniacally, which was just awesome. But yeah, I thought this was a very good setup episode for what we're gonna get for the season.
I enjoyed what they did sprinkle in about the wall as well, because the wall holds so much significance in Game of Thrones that I enjoy that they're showing us like earlier stages of what the wall was 200 years ago and how even people then were very worried about what was behind that wall and how dragons wouldn't even pass it. What I will say, though, there was a little bit of a plot hole.
See, I love that you say this. Someone's going to comment on this video like a 16-paragraph thing on why it's not a plot hole.
So,
I can't
okay.
wait.
No, but I would love to be shown why this is incorrect.
You know, there's some dude that watched Game of Thrones like 7 times during the Coco.
Yeah, no, I would love for someone to tell me why this is incorrect, genuinely. But in Game of Thrones, the dragons do go over the wall because there's a fight scene where Daenerys comes and saves Jon Snow. In House of the Dragon, I don't know if you remember about this, there was a scene where they said the dragons wouldn't go over the wall because there was something beyond it that they didn't want to mess with. So I was confused. So I was like, were these dragons just like tougher later on? And they were like,
They could be.
we'll go by.
They've matured out and developed a little bit.
It was just interesting because I was like, so they wouldn't go over the wall for you guys, but Daenerys was like, we're going. And all those dragons were like, bet.
Now that you say this, though, I feel like we're going to get an episode where they go over.
They go over.
Yeah.
I wonder if they will have a meeting with the White Walkers at some point. I don't think they will.
It's going to be this Sunday. They're going to go over the wall. It's gonna
Imagine.
be this Sunday.
As soon as I put this out, like I'll put out a short and someone will be like, well,
Let me fill you in there, pal.
cool, man. That's all I got. I'm excited. I mean, I'm excited. I've had some champagne. I've been yapping for 27 minutes.
You would never.
I mean, we're in my peak right now.
Yeah, you got Celtics basketball and House of the Dragon. It's kind of like basketball and fantasy.
And you know what? The reason we're only doing this is because if I put the boys in there, we'd be here for another hour.
I finished season 1.
Nice.
Oh my god.
So good.
Oh man, they got me good at the end. I was like, what?
What I will say is at the episode 5 mark, which I believe happens next week, we are going to talk about it. I hope you can get there in time.
Don't you worry about it, pal.
I did call in not only some backup, but some addition. I want Nick to come and talk about it.
I've heard of him.
The boys is awesome, and we will not ignore it. We're just going to stick with House of the Dragon right now.
Whoa, no, we're not. We got
What?
some puck to watch this week.
Puck.
We got some puck to watch this week.
How about Dallas and Edmonton just being like, oh, you think it's over? We're going to sell some ad space real quick.
Well, no, I'm not
But,
talking about, I'm not talking
but
about,
you're talking about Shoresy.
yeah, we got some puck happening this week.
So
Some
next
sticks
week, we're going to talk about Shoresy and the boys.
and the boys.
It's going to be a double-decker
And
episode.
then the week after, we have the bear.
All comes out at once, I think.
What is going on right now?
It's too much.
Like-
we're going to have to record a couple times a week.
And then we got
Yeah.
A Quiet Place.
Summer's great.
And then when all these, you ready? Oh, you ready to get even happier? So
Say it.
when House of the Dragon's like over,
Yeah.
we're going right into Deadpool.
Yeah,
We're going right into Deadpool.
Dude, and I just finished
Then
Welcome.
after Deadpool, we're going into football season. I'm like, oh my god, this is the best summer of all time. Deadpool's gonna end, and you're gonna be like so depressed because you're like, damn it, I gotta start figuring out my fantasy football team.
you know me. For anyone who is also like kind of plagued by football a little bit, that's gonna be tough for me. I got all my nerd done by the end of the summer. The Celtics already won, so my high is probably coming down at this point. Welcome to Wrexham was shorter this year. I don't even have that.
You're going right into a wedding.
Going right into a wedding. There's zero time to focus on fantasy
But
football.
a bunch of just idiots too.
I'm gonna be
Like
putting out videos of fantasy football dummies, and I'm gonna be sitting there planning the rest of my life. So that'll be interesting.
I think it's almost time for some initiations.
We got 2 spots.
Did you pick anybody yet?
I have a couple ideas.
I got a guy on my team. He's coming in.
All right.
I got a guy coming in, and he said he can dance.
For anyone who doesn't know what we're talking about, we have a fantasy football league where every single week someone has to do a punishment. So that's kind of what we're alluding to, but we'll get there. We'll get there. Tonight we celebrate some buckets and some fictional puck that's coming up. That was just Jump. You'll never hear me talk more on an episode than I just did there, so thank you for letting me do that.
I gotcha.
Go Celts.
You will see me talk a lot more on more episodes.
Yeah, Shoresy's coming up.
Yeah.
You'll be just fine.
You guys will learn that I talk a lot.
All right, love you guys. If you made it this far, love you even more. And if you didn't make it this far, then your mama don't love you.